The beautiful coral, an animal that is essential to a healthy reef system. Yes, coral is an animal that is hard as a rock, yet delicate as a flower. Not too long ago, corals in Hawaii and throughout all the tropics, which don't forget, makes up 25% of the Earth's surface, started to die at alarming rates. The prime culprit? Global warming. The death of coral is a slow and agonizing one, before it turns to ghastly white, where death is mere moments away. It turns an almost translucent fuchsia color in a grand celebration of its once magnificent glory. As I explored the reef over these last years, I found that, miraculously, 1 in about 1,000 corals had lived. I dubbed these corals the reef mothers. It took many years for the reef mothers to spawn, but last year, baby corals started to appear on the reef. These baby corals, however, are in for a long, hard, and perilous journey towards survival. This is their story, and this is Think Ocean. Welcome, my fellow aquanauts, to the State of Coral video documentary series. And in this video, we're going to bring you right up to date as to what is the health of the corals in the state of Hawaii. Our team of aquanauts have been diving and surveying the coral reefs in Hawaii for the last 10 years. Our last survey was along the Kona coast, which encompassed over 10 different dive sites and locations from north to south. So welcome aboard, and let's join our team of aquanauts and find out what is the state of coral, Hawaii. Most of the Hawaiian Islands look just like this, mostly made of large areas of low-lying, hard, encrusting corals. These types of corals are the least likely to be affected by adverse environmental conditions, and they are doing just fine. The corals that are most affected are the Pocillopora corals, and please forgive my pronunciation as it's written on the screen. And to be honest, we found that most of these Pocillopora corals are all over the reef, and they seem healthy and they're thriving. Usually, they appear in light to dark brown colors. Their common name is cauliflower coral, and their scientific name, once again it's on the screen, is Meandrina. Also affected are elkhorn corals. Their scientific name is Grandis because they get so large. And we found them mostly healthy and thriving. However, with this said, something is making these corals bleach. Why is this coral bleaching and just 20 feet away another is healthy? In our last episode, we found out that by following trails of these bleached coral heads to the culprit that eat these corals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the dreaded crown-of-thorns starfish. This is what's left over, complete death and annihilation after a crown-of-thorns starfish passes over. Even with the looming threat of the crown-of-thorns, we found coral heads scattered all throughout all of our survey locations. Common were clusters of coral areas, like these Meandrina and Grandis corals that are close together. However, certain environmental factors can stress the coral out and cause them to expel, or as I like to call it, they seem to be shedding off their symbiotic algae, as seen here by these pieces of coral that seem half healthy and half starting to bleach off their symbiotic algae. It's this algae, as discussed in the State of the State of Coral Part 4, Episode 1, that is so vitally important for the coral to live. So why would the coral then shed it off? It's as if this algae is so irritating to the coral that suicide becomes the only option. It's ghastly and it's gruesome. Even some grandis succumb to the coral bleaching and they slowly wither away. They'll break apart and become sand on the beach or concrete for that bridge that they plan to build in town going over the river. This is a baby coral that attached to the reef only last year, and this one is 2 years old now. There are many babies and young pieces of coral that are found throughout all the reefs in Kona. Even in the shallow waters, where signs of coral bleaching often occur first, due to the warm water on the surface, we find that the corals are thriving and even making habitat for the slate pencil and collector sea urchins. This piece of coral is several years old now, and this piece of grandis is approaching a decade. Coming to the end of our observation program, it became clear that it was rare to see environmental conditions adversely affecting the coral, and yet it was very common to see environmental conditions, mostly death, caused at the hands of the dreaded crown-of-thorns starfish. And yet, combined, both of those factors affected less than 1% of the reef. In fact, most of the reef was healthy, like this beautiful piece of coral approaching 7 years old now. Here at this location is the best collection of deep water plate corals in all of Kona. We had heard that they seemed to be in peril, so the Think Ocean Aquanauts got our dive gear together and we went and investigated. You can see why they're called plate corals. This is a view looking up from 100 feet. The normal color of these plate corals is a dark brown with a very light brown to tan color on the edge. And so far, we were very happy to see this coral colony happy and thriving. These walls are full of plate corals that reach out and flatten for maximum sunlight exposure. As they stack upon one another, coral caves are formed, making perfect shelter for the fish. This is rice coral, and 7 years ago it was completely wiped out due to adverse environmental conditions, mainly warmer than usual ocean water temperatures. The optimum water temperature in Hawaii for coral growth is 74 to 78 degrees, and in 2018, at 100 feet, it was 82 degrees. So it's good to see these rice corals thriving, healthy, and back. These young spirals of plate coral will soon be a healthy deep water colony. Speaking of deep, this is the deep water Haley, and she is the deepest piece of coral at 110 feet that we've been observing and monitoring for the past 8 years. She is a deep brown color and hasn't changed much and holds fast in a field of deep sand. This is her younger sister, Hannah, and she is 5 years old. She was the size of a golf ball when we first discovered her. These corals are attracted to iron, such as the iron that is in lava rock, and as henna is found on an old piece of metal from a boat awning. Please see the State of Coral Part 2 on corals' attraction to iron and a suitable substrate for corals. After the massive coral bleaching event of 2015, as seen in the first State of the State Coral video, 90% of the coral was bleached and dead, except for a few coral pieces that repopulated the reef, and I dubbed these coral pieces the reef mothers. You can follow along some of these reef mothers over the last 10 years by subscribing to this Think Ocean YouTube channel. We found the reefs were full of young Poecilipora corals. Some areas, all available space was taken by them, and they were young, healthy corals all about. At the Think Ocean Dive team, we were very happy to see it. Corals thriving in the warmer shallow waters indicated good coral health and growth, and the collector sea urchin in the shallow waters was happy as well. So dive in and subscribe to this Think Ocean channel and follow along as the coral reefs grow in Kona, Hawaii.